Hey YouTube, this is Mrlubufu, and it looks like my posting my deck of mono red was very well received. Received some nice comments and what their opinions were on cards and why I chose certain things. Generally pretty polite overall, and it seemed as though people had very polite, positive comments for the most part. So I figured I should just do a bajillion deck techs today. Got nothing else to do, finished up the work I needed, so I'm going to go through. This right now is the modern deck that I'm having a lot of fun playing. It is Modern Past in Flames. So the goal for this deck is to Storm. For those of you who don't know, Storm is, I'll open one of the win conditions. Yeah, it's when you play the spell, you copy it for each spell played before this turn, and you may choose new targets for the copies. So this plus Past in Flames and Pyromancer's Ascension makes for a pretty fun deck for me to play personally. It's not very interactive per se, but if you get it going, it's just insane. So first off, there are two Pyromancer Ascensions, rare from Zendikar, that there were a few decks that kept trying to make it, and here's where I think it's okay. I only put two. I'm balancing between 2 or 3 right now. And it's whenever you cast an instant or sorcery that has the same name as a card in your graveyard, you may put a quest counter on Pyromancer Ascension. And whenever an instant or sorcery, or whenever you cast one while it has 2 or more counters, you may copy it. So, since there's a lot of spells that are 4-ofs, it generally gets pretty easy to put 2 counters on it. And then once you start copying, it just gets insanely broken, like they have to deal with it. So, it runs 20 instants, 4 of which are Desperate Ravings. Deck is in fact blue-red, so you get to flash it back. And since putting cards in your graveyard, like say Past in Flames, is not terribly too bad, since you get to flash it back at some point, generally Desperate Ravings is pretty good. You get to take a chance to filter out a land for a mana ramp spell. There's 4 Desperate Ritual, which adds 3 red for a red colorless. So what it does is this ups your storm count and adds 1 to your mana pool, which is roughly the sort of thing you want. Pyretic Ritual does the same thing, just without the splice on 2 arcane. And Seething Song turns 3 mana into 5. So basically this is just instant speed ramp, make sure it keeps your mana up and sets up your storm combo. Another one's Mana Morphos. Doesn't exactly add mana into your mana pool, it just can change it to color, so generally it will help form your blue, since Pyretic and Desperate Rituals and Seething Song make triple red. Mana Morphos allows you to make blue for some of your other spells, and it also cycles, which is generally pretty important. Then for sorceries, I run 4 Sleight of Hand, so it's essentially look at the top 2, put 1 in your hand and the other into your bottom, so it helps filter out cards in the early game, and it's a cheap blue spell. Serum Visions is draw a card, scry 2. Yes, Preordain is better, but Preordain's banned in Modern. So those plus Gitaxian Probe, they all cycle in one sense or another, and up your storm count for pretty cheap. Generally, I cast Gitaxian Probe for 2 life, since your life isn't too important if you're upping your storm count for a lethal turn. Then comes the key thing to the deck, and what made it it was having trouble without this card, and then once you added it, it got really good, was Past in Flames. It's each instant sorcery gains flashback till end of turn, and you generally don't flashback your Past in Flames because you win the game the first time you do it. Because you ramp, once you have 6 mana, you play Past in Flames, and then you're able to play Desperate Ritual and Pyretic Ritual and all the other rituals that you played before to help ramp it up your storm count. Then, once you've played 10, 15, sometimes even 20 spells in a turn, you win by casting either A, Empty the Warrens, which puts 2 1/1s into play, and it has Storm, so if you play 10 spells, you get 20 1/1s. Or, my favorite of the two, which is Grape Shot, which is just pings something for 1, but with Storm just gets insane. And that's essentially it's a super combo deck. Those of you who know, I am a combo player at heart. I combo and or aggro, but combo for me is the high one. I can't play control well. So this deck basically let you filter out, and I've got 3 islands, Misty Rainforest, 4 Scalding Tarn, 4 Shivan Reef, and 4 Sulphur Falls for mana fixing. Then for sideboard, my favorite card in sideboard is Telemann Performance, which is target opponent reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals a creature card. That player puts all non-creature cards revealed this way into his or her graveyard, then put the creature card into play under your control. This card is insane in the mirror matchup because there's different ways to sideboard for passive flames. One of the sideboards I've seen when I've played against was they passive flames into cheating out a Blightsteel Colossus. And in that case, Telemann Performance, you instantly get a Blightsteel Colossus. Or, generally, since this deck runs 0 creatures, you immediately mill their whole library. Huge tech, and it's just you win the game if you're able to bust this out. I also play 1 Shattering Spree for those artifact decks like Affinity, because since you can replicate it for red, you can easily wipe their board for a lot of things. I play 1 Fire Spout, and sort of like a board sweeper. I mean, it's 3 damage to each creature without flying for red, since you don't have green, unless you play a Manamorphose before it, but that's kind of meh. It's sort of like a Slag Storm. A little bit nicer than the mana. 4 Bolts. Generic against those zoo decks and whatnot where you might have to deal with something. Run 3 Ignorant Bliss, which is for those hand disruptions. So they try and play Inquisition of Coast Leak or something, you're able to play Ignorant Bliss in response, and that way you're able to keep your combo pieces alive without them interrupting your plans. And it also cycles. Play a single Giga Drowse. Generally what you do is, if you're playing a Control E deck, at the end of their end step where you want to try and have your combo go off the next turn, you Giga Drowse end of turn and try and tap all their lands. Play 2 Echoing Truths, which return target non-land permanent and other permanents with the same name to their owner's hands. This is for those token decks that it just immediately kills all their tokens. And then I play a Boomerang, which just returns target permanent to its owner's hand. So this is one of the 4 modern decks I'm building. Pretty straightforward. I do worry a little bit. This is the one that I've been focusing on building the fastest, because I do worry Passionate Flames will get banned, because this has been notorious for getting turn 2, turn 3 kills. Okay, maybe not notorious, but it's certainly possible to get the turn 2, turn 3 kills. And that's seems like the sort of thing Wizards doesn't want for Modern. Well, with their banning of their Blazing Shoal, for example, and that sort of thing. So let me know what you guys think. This deck's a lot of fun for me to play. It's very skill intensive. I've had to practice a lot. I am still practicing because there's a lot of intricacies in it. But yeah, there's that. Thank you guys for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you guys think.